On today's couch piece, I'm going to be talking about watching news with a filter or filtered news. Now, when it comes to the consumption of news content, a certain expression comes to mind. Can't live with them, can't live without them. We need to stay informed. And yet, our exposure to news content, which often tends to be bad news, I hasten to add, should come with a warning. Consume more than 1 hour of news content a day, and you run the risk of suffering panic attacks or even mental breakdown or depression. Now, it may sound like I'm exaggerating, especially because my profession often means that my exposure to news content will more often than not fall into the ambit of more than that recommended daily dose of 1 hour a day, more like 4 or 5 hours or more. So, how do we navigate our relationship to global reportage? Here's where the word balance comes into its own. First and foremost, we must be careful to ensure that the news we're consuming is verified news. Essentially, we need to be sure that it's coming from reputable news outlets. Then we need to identify whether we are getting the full perspective on the news. Well, this tends to be harder, but we need to challenge whether the perspective we're being fed is the only perspective there is. And more often than not, it isn't. There's always another side to the story. Ultimately, we must remind ourselves that even though there is a lot of bad news, and which tends to reflect the fact that there is a lot of evil in the world, there's also a substantial amount of goodness and virtue, and it begins with you and I. So let's not give up on the world just yet. My name is Ekene, and this is my couch piece for today. Have a great weekend.